Okay, we're going to look at Quizizz, and I have to say I was new to this one, and I'm really enjoying it. So let's take it for a drive. This is the page that you land on when you sign into your account. Creating an account is free. There is no paid version of Quizizz, which is a huge plus in its column. Not to say that they won't introduce one down the road, as that's usually what ends up happening. I don't know how they're affiliated or funded, but that's something that I'm keeping in mind to look for. And so I put in a bunch of science classes, and they're giving me suggested quizzes for each of those topics. So I could just go in and use another educator's quiz that they've already made. And it's giving me information about how many questions they are and how many times they've been played. So I can also make my own quizzes. I can click up here to create a new quiz, or I can go down to my quizzes. So let's just make a new quiz. Okay, I have to choose which class I'm going to put it in and give it a name. Let's do some basic genetics and have some fun there. Okay, so these are the 5 question types that I have. For this poll, I might say like rate your background knowledge on genetics. And this would be very little. I know nothing. Okay, so this is then what it'll look like on the student's mobile device if they're using a mobile device. I can tag standards to it. I can have more than 3 answers if I would like, and I can change the amount of time. Once I save, I can see it on here, and then I can also adjust the time, which is nice. Clicking edit question will go back into the question. Down here, it's giving my quiz a quality score, which is great. So these are the 4 things that they want you to do for a good quiz. Let's write a multiple choice question now. Okay, so I had to brainstorm some. So which of the following is a recessive phenotype? We'll do AA, brown, B, V. Okay, and then, oh, I guess we should do homozygous dominant too. Okay, so there's only one phenotype on the list, and so that's the one in there. This is the kind of question I might write if we were in class together and I could explain it to address any concerns or misconceptions. This is probably not one that I would assign for homework to do on their own because it's a little bit tricky, right? We don't know whether brown necessarily is a recessive phenotype or not, but it's the only phenotype on the list. So having that extra distractor in there is something I would probably not do in a remote setting. Okay, so now I've got my 2 questions. Let's do a checkbox one. Okay. So what type of trait is color blindness? We're going to do dominant, recessive, sex-linked, or, I don't know, I don't even want another option. Can I get rid of this? Yeah, I can delete that as an option. And so because it's a checkbox, I can choose more than one. So I'm going to choose recessive and sex-linked. Now, let's say I'm getting bored and I don't want to write my own. There's a way where you can just add in new questions, and it's up here and it's called teleport. So this is called basic genetics. It searches for that term in all of its various public quizzes that are in there. And you can look at these and just pick ones that you want. Like, okay, I don't have anything about heterozygous or homozygous, so why don't we add that one in? And it's now going to be part of our quiz. So that's definitely a nice thing to have there. So I've reached 4 questions, which is their quality quiz score requirement. I don't know what adding grades is. Oh, I do know what that is. We'll talk about that in a minute. So let's add a quiz image. To do that, you have to first either save an image or provide a link. So let's look at genetics memes and pick a good one. Ugh. This is kind of funny. I'll save that one. Okay, so I'm just going to right click on it and say save image as, and then I'll leave it as called download. So now I'm going to go back to Quizizz. I'm going to add a quiz image. I can drag and drop here to upload. So I'm going to go over here to my temp file, download, and drop that in. Okay. My language is English. For grades, I'm going to say 8th through, let's do 10th, right? I can change it to public or private. I'm going to leave it on public. Go ahead and do that, and then I can be done. Okay. Just to show you some other things, I'm going to go back to my quizzes and look at this demo one that I made. This one was fun. You can decide to put in images instead of typed answer choices, and that's super easy to do. I need to click up here to edit. I was trying to edit the question and not seeing where it was working. So now I can edit the questions now that I'm editing the quiz. And what you can do to add an image is just click this on here. You get up this menu where you can type in a link or drop an image in. Typing in a link to an image is a little bit, I don't know how they handle it. If they capture the image at that point and save it, you're fine. If they're just hot linking to it, if they just include that link in the quiz every time, then if that image goes away or changes, it'll break the image on your quiz. So I'm going to lean towards doing the drag and drop until I know how they're handling their images. So that's a fun one to do. This one definitely encourages memes. When you go to play the quiz, it will ask you which memes to do, and you can actually create your own meme collections. So when you do that, you create some memes for correct answers and some memes for incorrect answers. These meme collections are also searchable. And so while it would be super fun for you to make one for your class that's really tailored to them and their own little idiosyncrasies, you can just use ones that other people have created. So for my quizzes, when I did the demo one, I'm going to assign it as homework. I think I already have. And then I can assign it up to a month in advance. Okay. So I'm going to assign it to 6th period because that's the class that I have in there. And then, oh, I've got advanced settings. I can change how many attempts students can have, show answers in game so they get to see the correct answers, so answers after the game so they get to review again there as well. Power-ups, so when they get 3 right in a row, they start getting extra bonus points for their correct answers, which is cool. Showing the leaderboard is what makes it fun and competitive for some students. I had initially turned on shuffle questions, but I realized that 2 of the questions I had, I did want them to have at the beginning. There were those 2 poll questions I made. And so if you're wanting to ask your students some poll questions first, you might want to turn that off. Redemption question, I love. This at the end of it, if they've answered it incorrectly, they'll get to see 1 or 2 of their questions depending on how long their quiz is. And so they get a second chance at it and still get some points. I definitely would leave music on, and I would definitely leave show memes on. This is where you can choose your meme set. Nice boys, that sounds funny, right? So these are just some featured ones that you can choose from, or you can pick a random one. So those are your options for that. Then when you assign the game, I'm the only student in my class right now. So to get in there, invite participants. I'm looking, before it showed me a option to give them a code, and I'm not seeing that now, and I'm wondering if that's because I've assigned it to a class. If I assign it to a class, the students have accounts. You don't have to set up your students in accounts. If you were only wanting to use this once or twice, I wouldn't. But If you don't assign it to a class, if you can just give them a link either on Google Classroom, or you can have them go to joinmyquiz.com and enter in this code. So those are two options you have there. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to go over. I know that that's a little bit, that last bit was a little bit confusing. So please let me know if you have more questions about that. In settings, you can change your username and reset your password and delete your account. This change account type is also really a good feature to know about, because I think we've all had students who have accidentally signed up for teacher accounts when we told them to sign up for the student account. And so it's really easy on Quizizz to switch those over. Collections are for when you are creating a lot of quizzes. You can organize them into folders. And then you can either connect to Google Classroom or just create a class. When you create a class, you can decide whether you're going to require students to enter a guardian's email address or just suggest. I have this disabled and it's still left it as an option. And that's a way that you can send out progress reports about how they're doing on their quizzes, which is interesting, but up to you whether you want to do that. And then you share this link with them to prompt them to set up an account and sign into your class. As it says, it expires in 14 days, but then you can get a new link and just give it to them, give them the new one, okay? I think that is everything you need to know to get started with Quizizz. I think it's pretty fun. It stacks up pretty well against Kahoot, in my opinion. My only criticism is that the music is a little bit less fun than the Kahoot music, but it's still pretty good. And having the ability to assign it as homework or assign it as practice and have students work through it at their own pace on their own time is a really cool option. So I definitely would be trying this out if I had students to inflict this on. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm excited to see your quizzes.